Let me tell you, the heat that day was just disrespectful. You know that thick, heavy air at the lake house in summer? It smells like overripe peaches? That was it. I was 64, stirring this huge pot of preserves, and I could feel the exhaustion just setting into my bones like lead. My grandsons were tearing through the yard, little hurricanes of energy, and I was just feeling every one of my years. I was the fixer, right? The foundation for this whole family. And honestly, I was worn clean out. And then, the phone rang. It was Kwame, the manager of the Royal Palm Hotel. A good man I'd helped out of a legal jam years back, and he never ever called unless it was serious. His voice was tight, anxious. He tells me my husband, Reginald, is there, in the presidential suite, no less, with another woman. And he registered under my name. To top it all off, my own son, Kendrick, had paid him to shut off the cameras. In that 1 second, the peaches, the heat, the noise, it all just vanished. The world went silent, and then it just cracked wide open. And just like that, the fatigue was gone. That bone-deep weariness of being a grandmother, it evaporated, and in its place was something cold, something sharp. It was the calculating rage of a district attorney. Oh, they hadn't just lied about a simple fishing trip. No, this was something else entirely. They forgot who they were dealing with. I spun some lie to my neighbor about an emergency at work and left the boys with her. Then I drove. I made a 60-minute drive in 40 flat, taking corners like I was back in my 20s. My old SUV, the one Reginald was always nagging me to sell, it just roared to life, like it knew. This wasn't a wife driving to confront a cheater. No, this was an investigator heading to a crime scene. Tears are for victims. I needed a clear head and dry eyes for this. Kwame met me at the service entrance, and we went through the hotel's back corridors to the security room. I felt like a ghost walking through my own life. He pointed to the main monitor, camera 402, and just said, "We are alone." I was about to watch my whole life get dismantled on a high-definition screen. And there she was. My breath just caught in my throat. It was like looking into a twisted mirror. A woman, about my height, wearing my camel cashmere coat. The one from the mayor's gala. The one that was supposed to be hanging in our city apartment where only Reginald, Kendrick, and I had keys. She even had a wig on, styled in my signature severe bun. This wasn't a lover. This was an impersonation. And then the light caught a flash of green on her chest. My stomach just dropped. It was my brooch, an emerald set in antique gold that my mother gave me when I graduated law school. A sacred family heirloom that was supposed to be locked in our bedroom safe. He hadn't just stolen a piece of jewelry. He was stealing my very identity. She was sitting at a table, a stylus in her hand, practicing my signature, over and over and over. Kwame turned up the audio. And I hear Reginald's voice, irritated, coaching her. "No," he says. "The slash at the end is sharp, like a whip crack. Try again." And then she starts reading from a script in this cheap, reedy imitation of my voice, transferring all my property and power of attorney to my son, Kendrick. And it all just clicked into place. The fake me, the legal documents, they wanted to have me declared incompetent. Some crazy old woman who'd finally lost her mind and needed a guardian to manage her affairs. They weren't just after my money. They were staging my living funeral, trying to erase me from my own life. But that wasn't even the worst of it. Reginald puts Kendrick on speakerphone. And my son laughs. It's this smug, lazy sound. He says I'm probably passed out at the lake house, too simple to ever check up on them. And then he said it. Those words. "She's like an old plow mule." I felt the blood just drain from my face. My care, my love, my entire life's work for them, and they saw it as the blind stupidity of a draft animal. In that moment, whatever love I had left for my son it evaporated. It was gone. The pain was gone, and all that was left was cold, hard steel. That familiar calm of the courtroom just washed over me. They had started a game with rules they couldn't possibly understand. Well, now it was my turn to play, and I never, ever lose. Right. First things first, I knew their lawyer, Elias Thorne, was dirty. I made a call to an old contact in the archives, asked him to pull a file I knew was kept off the books. Next, I had Kwame kill the air conditioning and ventilation to their suite, let him sweat. And as the room got hotter, I used a spoofing app to send Reginald a text. Looked like it came right from the DOJ, warning of a task force being dispatched. You know, panic is a beautiful tool, makes people sloppy. And just like that, they were scurrying around like rats in a cage. The heats, the fear, it completely stripped them of their logic. They bought the text hook, line and sinker. I rose from my chair, my plan clicking into place. I turned to Kwame and said, "Prepare the room service cart." Oh, they were about to get their task force all right, just not the one they were expecting.
So Kwame wheels in the cart. On it, a silver dome covering a compliment from the establishment. He lifts the lid, and there's my face. On a tablet, broadcast live from the security room, the Medusa stare. I watched their faces just crumble in real time. Thorn, the little rat, he lunged for the door, but it was too late. I'd already had Kwame engage the electronic locks. That click of the lock, that was the sound of a gavel. The trap had sprung.
I walked into that suffocating room. The first thing that hit me was the smell of pure panic. Kendrick, his face all blotchy with rage, he just hisses at me. "You ruined everything." The audacity. I stepped right up to him and the sound of my slap echoed in the silence. That wasn't despair, that was a verdict. And then I laid out his real problem for him. Not me, but the volatile syndicates in Atlanta he owed a fortune to. His little money laundering scheme officially closed for business. Reginald, ever the survivor, he starts crying, begging. "We are family," he pleads, putting his hands on my shoulders. And for just a split second, I actually wavered. But then I looked past him, and I saw my mother's brooch on that actress's chest, and the very last thread of pity just snapped. I took his hands off me. "Family protects," I told him, my voice ice cold. "You are parasites."
He played his last card, sputtering about his legal right to half of everything we owned. And for the first time all day, I smiled. A real, genuine smile. I calmly reminded him of the prenup he'd signed 35 years ago and promptly forgotten about. Specifically, Clause 4.2, the bad faith clause. Since he had actively tried to defraud me, he had just forfeited his right to absolutely everything. Checkmate.
The police arrived quietly, no sirens, no fuss. I just stood there and watched them lead Kendrick and Thorne away in cuffs. My son didn't even look at me. He knew. The game was over. I wasn't just ending a marriage, I was cleaning house.
A few minutes later, I walked through the lobby, and there was Reginald, frantically trying to use his credit cards, each one getting declined. "I have nowhere to go," he whimpered at me. I didn't even turn to face him. I just said, "Fishing teaches survival, doesn't it?" and kept walking. I walked right up to the front desk where Kwame was waiting. I had him check me out of my old life and then check me right back in, to the presidential suite, for a week. I looked at Kwame and I said, "I believe I've earned a vacation."
As I took the key card, Reginald croaked from behind me. "Tuscany? That's dangerous. You can't handle it alone." I didn't even turn around. I just tapped the brochure for a solo tour of Tuscany on the counter. I handled organized crime, a corrupt lawyer, and the betrayal of my own family in one evening, I said, more to the universe than to him. I think I'll figure out pasta and wine in Italy somehow. And with that, I walked toward the elevator and my new life.